All right, joining us today is a Native American professional wrestler from the Lumbee tribe. You remember him from his time spent in the WWE. Please welcome Tatanka. Tatanka, man, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thank you, Steve. It's an honor to be on another wrestling podcast. I know there's many out there, but guys, if you're looking for the right one, remember, another wrestling podcast. Again, Steve, thank you very much. It's an honor to be here, and it's always an honor to be able to speak to the fans worldwide, too.
All right, great. Now, on October 16th and 17th, you'll be making appearances for ESS Promotions, the number one talent agency in the world specializing in professional wrestling. All information can be found on ESSpromotions.com, and we'll talk about where and when a little bit later, where you can meet and greet Tatanka coming up. But Tatanka, man, you probably went through a grueling travel schedule in your WWE time, but is it nice to be able to tone it down a little bit and get to visit your fans and at these local shows and conventions and just be able to speak to the fans one-on-one more?
Well, Steve, you definitely hit it on the button. The difference between being on a current, what we call a full booking contract at WWE or World Wrestling Federation, as many know from before also, I've really been honored and blessed to be able to work for WWF and also up to 2010 be able to work with the new WWE. So there's definitely a lot of changes in the schedule. World Wrestling Federation, I was literally my first almost 7 years on the road 300 days a year. The current WWE schedule, even though there's certain stars like John Cena that is still very busy and out there probably 300 plus, the schedule is lighter, meaning it's 4 days on, 3 days off, 4 days on, 3 days off, and the only time it changes is when you have an international tour. So the scheduling is a lot easier today. You know, a lot of the veterans in our business, we laugh at some of these young kids. They go, "Oh, it's so tough being on the road. Oh, it's so tough." You know, guys like Hulk Hogan was on the road 90 days straight before finally getting home, during those crazy years of World Wrestling Federation in the 80s and, of course, in the 90s, and it was just going crazy. There was 3 tours a night, so the schedule was so much more demanding them. I've actually been on the road 60 days straight myself, but today, being able to work with people like Eric Sims and his promotion, booking talent worldwide for wrestling type of events, it's great because even though I'm very busy every weekend, I'm not on a full booking contract with WWF or WWE, so it allows me to have the opportunity to do things like this, to also be able to speak to fans at the shows, because when you're at WWE, you don't get to do these kind of things.
No, yeah, definitely. Now, growing up, did you have any favorite Native American wrestlers that maybe inspired you? Because I know one of my favorites growing up was Chief Jay Strongbow. Or maybe, any lessons you learned from them before, you broke into wrestling?
Probably the first greatest impact in my career was when I was in the North Carolinas, and I decided to pursue a career of professional wrestling. I was working in Bally's Corporation. I was a divisional manager. I was very successful in what I was doing. I had a club that was responsible for $400,000 to $500,000 a month, and I was selling over $1 million a year for the company. So when I decided to pursue professional wrestling, the area that I broke into was in the Carolinas, and I was so honored because in that area was Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, and the other guy, which again your question is, a native influence, Wahoo McDaniels. And Wahoo was just real native blood, just a real tough warrior, fights you in a heartbeat, old school all the way. So he definitely took me underneath his wings, along with, when I went to World Wrestling Federation, of course, the impact that Chief Jay Strongbow had, because not only was he an agent, but he was very successful at World Wrestling Federation portraying the Native American race. Everyone knows that he was Italian, but he loved the Native American heritage, and he loved portraying it on TV. He was a great impact and a great mentor, too.
Sure. Now, for everybody listening too, Native American culture is a little bit different from ours. But what would you say your favorite part of Native American culture is?
Well, everyone. It's kind of a question. With this crazy world we live in today, and you see all the crazy things happening, and people running for president, and the things they say and the things they do. What's so cool about the Native heritage? The more I research, the more I understand. I mean, we began here in the United States of America as the First Nations and First Americans. And with Native Americans, we're real big on family. We're real big on standing together. We're real big on, even though that no one's perfect, doing good to others. So what I love is about the peace that you have when you're in a native environment, because their ways of life is not to cause debate, not to fight with anyone, but just like the Pilgrims when they came, they realized the Pilgrims were going to die. They did not know to hunt. They did not know how to hunt. They did not know how to crop. And out of generosity, out of the way that we live, meaning helping others and also helping them to do certain things. Our culture is just a great culture because it's family, it's good, it's teaching about how to become a great warrior, how to become a better native, and we also respected the Creator. We respected the creation. We believe that there was one God, and we respected Him, and we also believe that, we're stewards of everything. That's the biggest thing that we had about land, because we believed that no one owned the land. It was the Creator's that was given to us to steward, to take care of. So, there's a lot of different things about our culture. Of course, things advance, but, the deep native cultures, when you get on maybe some of the places where you're away from the big cities, you'll see that they're still practicing these things. What's really cool to end with is when I was at WWE, my latest run for SmackDown, we filmed an Anipi ceremony, which is a sweat lodge ceremony that was part of making me family to the Lakota Sioux. It's a true sacred ritual that's been performed since the beginning of time. Two sacred rituals I perform with them. One of them being the sweat lodge ceremony, and you go inside and you're with elders or you're with the chief. And it's really cool when you're in this darkness, you're in this heat, you're being tested as a person spiritually. It's cool to hear the leader or the chief talk about pretty much just good things about being a good person. So that's the reason when you get around, native reservations, it's just very, very peaceful. They love creation, they love nature, so it's just a very, very cool atmosphere overall.
All right, yeah, definitely. Now, professional wrestling has had its share of characters over the years. Do you think that the WWE is currently capitalizing on, the popularity again with wrestlers like, the Wyatts, the Vaudevillains, Adam Rose, stuff like that? Do you think, just bringing these share of characters back?
Well, hey, we all know this. The greatest eras of our business, not because I was part of it, was the 80s and 90s. Simple fact is, wherever I travel all over the world, when people walk up to my table, and I do mean I'm traveling all the time, and I'm seeing the current market all the time. When they walk up to your table, when they walk up to see you, they're talking about, oh my God, WrestleMania 3, Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant. Oh my God, Ultimate Warrior. Are you and Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 9? It's because those eras had everybody was characters. Mm-hmm. It's like the greatest movies today, Marvel, DC Comics. I mean, all of these animated characters are now some of your biggest movies. Hulk, Spider-Man. People love characters. They love getting away and being able to get into that realm where they get away from reality and they believe in a character. We have larger-than-life characters, and we're seeing it today with WWE. Yes, they are adding characters, but in our day, everyone was a character. I believe the more we get back to that era, the bigger the business will get, because people, at the end of the day, they love to support a character. There's too many guys that come through the curtains and they look the same. Boots, knee pads, tights, and that's it. Even pretty much same body types. Mm-hmm. Back in our day, my gosh, everyone was so uniquely different from each other, which really added to, again, the character and added to the success of our business.
Definitely. Now, you spend a lot of time in the wrestling business today, as well. Are you hopeful with the future of wrestling?
Well, without a shadow of a doubt. The reason why is because what's changed in our business, which is fantastic for our business, some people didn't want to see that change, or they just don't want to change with it, is social media. I'm big on social media. I have huge social media platforms, and what's great about that is WWE has caused a platform for the WWE Universe, the fans themselves, to be able to speak, and WWE Universe now has a voice. And I don't think WWE thought it would go that route. I thought that they, thought it would mainly be for advertising. But again, WWE is a major company. The social media accounts are huge with millions and millions of followers. And, when they start speaking, WWE does listen because you have millions of people there. So I think they're hearing what the fans are saying at next. That's the reason Triple H has put so much attention to the NXT product, because again, you got characters there, and the fans in these 5,000-seat arenas are going crazy and chanting, and then you got Monday Night Raw and SmackDown, and they see what's happening in NXT. That's the reason Triple H is putting so much attention to it. It's great because you're letting the guys wrestle, and you got guys like Balor, who's already on WWE Games, because he has a character.
Definitely. Now, being a veteran of the business, some guys, some guys later on, they'll want to take jobs as being a coach or a mentor or whatnot. Would you ever consider, taking a job with WWE or anybody, working in like a talent development capacity, or is that something maybe that's not for you?
Well, no, it's definitely not something for me. I mean, when I was there working, I had great guys like great talent that was there now, great superstars that were agents then that were telling me that everyone knows their names, but I don't need to mention them. They were saying, "Man, we'd love to have you here." As far as an agent, you'd be great to be in an agent position. And they were telling me about some of the things that were involved with that. Of course, there's a great responsibility there, but mainly the guys who play those positions, you have a love for the business. And when you have a love for the business, it's never really a struggle or a burden. It's something that you enjoy doing. So would that be something I would consider? Of course, because I definitely have a love for the business. To be in the business for this long, you have to love it. And again, we're in a tremendous business. Sports entertainment, professional wrestling is a business that's doing tremendous business. It's doing billions per year, and just breaking records all the time.
Sure. Now, being a Native American, I have to ask this question because, what are your thoughts on sports teams and mascots using terms like, the Washington Redskins or the Atlanta Braves? Do you have any feelings about that?
Well, feelings are this. Of course, like I said again, the world has changed. So socially, people now can spread a voice and bring a cause. I'm not saying that those things are right. I'm not saying those things are wrong. What I'm saying, as a true native who has been to many reservations, and I do mean many, who has spent time with chiefs of major tribes, who are personal friends with chiefs of major tribes, and went with chiefs of major tribes to certain areas. There's many issues that we need to be discussing other than mascots. We need to be discussing about teen suicide, teen pregnancy, this is on the res, dropouts, poverty, no work, addiction, alcoholism. The native race is leading in all of these areas, and no one's speaking out there. There's many speaking for certain races, which is great, but there's no one out there speaking for the Native Americans and the First Nations people. So the real issues that will really bring change is not taking a mascot, a face of a Native American off of as a mascot for a team. The real issues is what's truly happening in the everyday lives of Native Americans and First Nations people. That's what we need to focus on first, because the other things are really not going to make a difference, because at the end of the day, you got to make a difference right there in everyday people's lives.
Sure, definitely. Now, how did other, the Native American community react to your involvement in the world of professional wrestling? I mean, do you get good feedback from it, or was there anything like that?
Always got great feedback. I never had anyone ever get on me or say anything in a derogatory way. And anyone who has ever said that, which I've had a very minute, usually they're 1/8 Indian, Native American, are not full blood. As far as the native tribes and some of the greatest leaders in the native community, meaning throughout the United States of America, has honored me at business meetings and things of that nature. The simple reason, because I'm out in the TV world, out in the market world, as a true Native American, 100% blood of the Lumbee tribe of North Carolina, and also family to the Lakota Sioux, portraying our great heritage. I never made it look cartoonish, because I'm true Native American. I didn't have to pretend. I'm true Native American. I never did anything as far as like the movies that portray natives in the wrong way. I did things right. As a warrior in the ring, proud that he was Native American, and I got a lot of respect. I got a lot of commendations from very important people in the Native world all throughout the United States.
All right. Now, when you came back to the WWE in 2005, you changed up your look a little bit. Was that something that you decided to do, or is it something others thought about, changing up the look?
Well, first of all, I was only supposed to come back for an appearance, and from that one appearance, out of the blue, the response from the fan base, again, the fans speaking, as I told you, that is different. It went from a one-day appearance to they were instantly talking to me about contract when I came through the curtain. So, but the only thing is there's a lot changed with WWE from World Wrestling Federation. And what I mean by that, yeah, WWE's even got bigger and more phenomenal, but, as far as the creative storylines, you had Vince McMahon, you had Pat Patterson, you had Chief Jay Strongbow back in the day. Now, which were all people born with success in the wrestling business. Now today you got a lot of different writers and people, and they can't all focus on each and every storyline and write each and every storyline for everyone. And plus, when you got greats like some of the greats we have, they just don't have the talent like some of those greats to write the unbelievable storylines. So yes, I came back as Tatanka. Then we made a decision there, with creative to kind of make a turn, not really to be a bad guy, but to start standing for me as a Native American. So we went to this big spiritual journey, and that came as a new spiritual warrior, which again we wanted to show a difference, and the difference was I was with the Lakotas during that time. This was after the Sweat Lodge ceremony, the Hunka ceremony that we did. So I took on a look that is a true war paint of the Lakotas. That's for their dog soldiers, meaning fierce warriors of the Lakotas. Meaning when you seen the dog soldiers in the woods, you ran the opposite way, because you're dealing with the Mac Daddies of the Lakota tribe, the true fierce warriors that would die in battle, and the only way that you could stop them is that you would kill them first. So that's the look that we took. It was true Lakota war paint, not just something that I just made up.
All right. You had your likeness put on lots of merchandise over the years. Was there any Tatanka item that meant the most to you?
It's kind of crazy, because when you're with the World Wrestling Federation or WWE, there's so much stuff out there. Sometimes it takes 4 or 5 years before you even see some of the stuff, Even the international market is totally different than what we have over here in the U.S. So there's a lot of cool stuff. But, probably the coolest of all of the stuff, and I'm sure with most of all the other guys too, is all the action figures, I love the Jack-specific Superstar line, which is kind of like their Legend line, kind of, and I love their Jack-specific action figure me, because it looked great. It had the red hair, had the traditional loincloth, had the look that I portrayed all the way through, and it's an action figure that not only sold out during that time, but very, very hard to get. So obviously, I'm not the only one that liked that.
All right, yeah, definitely. Now, you've had an amazing wrestling career, accomplishing many things, but is there one thing, that sticks to you that maybe you wish you would have loved that you would have gotten to do, or is there anything that stands out like that?
Well, I think with each and every guy, there's probably always, if you have a an attitude that you don't settle for where you're at. You're always wanting more. You're always wanting greater. That's my mentality. That's at least what I try to live by each and every day. Am I excited and happy about what I accomplished at World Wrestling Federation? Yeah, of course. I went 2 years undefeated, which at that time was a record. I got to WWE in only 1 year after making the decision, so that's a great thing to me too, because there are many who have tried and 10, 15, 20 years later still not there. It's not an easy task to get in there. And also that I wrestled at WrestleMania matches. I wrestled Shawn Michaels for the title at WrestleMania 9, Caesar's Palace, Las Vegas, defeated him, beat him several times before then. The only thing is, at that time, would have been great to have the Intercontinental title, but it's not something I look back out on because, again, the fan base at the end of the day is great because the fan base will put more titles on you than what any promotion or any company has because, when they enjoy you and you've done what you need to do for the fan base, they always honor you and they always support you.
All right. And lastly, we've seen many wrestlers as of late make the return to the WWE, most recently with the Dudleys. Do you think there would be room for Tatanka to come back to the
of course, and the reason why is because I can still get in the ring and I could still do whatever. It doesn't mean that I have to be out there wrestling every single night. Of course, guys who, I won't say older, but guys who have started before the young guys who are there, the biggest thing is when you're on a work schedule 250 days a year. That's the reason some of the guys who are some of the greats in our business, for example, like Undertaker, he's not out there on the road working every single night. He's doing all the big pay-per-views, and plus Undertaker doesn't have to do that. He's such an established name. He can come to a pay-per-view and give it his all as pay-per-view and been training beforehand in the ring and ready to go. So can I go out there and still get down in the wrestling ring and give 100%? You better believe it. Could I make a return? Yes, you better believe it, And of course, it would be enjoyable to get in the ring with some of their talent. They got some unbelievable youthful talent that is very, very talented in the ring. And if you get in there with someone that has a character, I believe you can have so much fun because the fan base would love to see characters get in that ring again and tell those stories the way that they would always tell the stories in the ring. I think we'd have a lot of fun, myself and, of course, the WWE Universe, too.
All right, guys. Well, October 16th, once again, you can meet Tatanka at ECPW Wrestling at the Thorne Middle School in Port Monmouth, New Jersey. And on October 17th at 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., you can meet Tatanka at George's Cards and Collectibles at Bensalem, Pennsylvania. And from 3:30 p.m. to 5:30 at the Wrestling Universe in Flushing, New York. And again, at 7 p.m. at ECPW Wrestling at Our Lady of Guadalupe School in Brooklyn, New York. Tatanka, one last thing, with social media happening with everybody right now, is there a way that fans can keep up with you today?
Yeah, I was already thinking about that earlier, Stephen. I'm glad that you brought it up. Again, all the great listeners out there, we thank you for all your support. We thank you for the support here of listening and following Another Wrestling Podcast. Again, that is Another Wrestling Podcast. To be able to get in touch with me, have a beautiful, redesigned, official website that I've had for ever since 1996. It's NativeTatanka.com, spelled exactly the way it stands, NativeTatanka.com. Of course, I'm on Twitter at Native Tatanka. I'm on Facebook page, which again is Facebook.com/Native Tatanka. So, and again, if you just put Tatanka on the first page of a Google search because of all of our SEO and all the stuff that we do with my webmaster, my social media team, we come up with everything on the first page. So we have a very big social media platform. You can find me very easily. But again, NativeTatanka.com. Facebook is Native Tatanka, my page, and also my Twitter account is, again, at Native Tatanka. So, Steve, we really appreciate you. Again, thank you, all the supporters out there. Tatanka is very, very busy in this wrestling industry, traveling all over the world, but believe me, I'm not done yet. There's a lot of things that we're working behind the scenes on, so I'm looking forward to making some great announcements here in the near future.
I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
You're awesome, Steve. We'll see you guys. Enjoy. Have a great day.